share my screen, okay, if I'm allowed to share my screen, okay. And I'm just going to share something with you about, let me just move this over here, okay. Can everybody see that? Can you see that, Elena?
Yeah.
Yes.
Evgeny?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, this
Yeah.
is the landing page from, of course, Basic Russia and Trendy English. And I have to say that Basic Russia was sort of an idea that slowly came to life after meeting Elena on the island of Malta, almost 4 years ago. And we both had, interest in business English, but we wanted to somehow bring that to Russia, that idea of business English. And I think was always the question, does it really exist in Russia? And it does, yeah. We might not just see it that way, but we just decided that we would form this group. And we always ask everybody to please go to the Basic Russia group on Facebook, where you're always informed about upcoming events, what's going on, where we as members of the group share information about our experience in teaching business and also business English and, ideas. But, I just want to quickly say before we get started here that there's 5 ideas that really put Basic Russia and brought life to it, and what our goals are. And, if you can see this on the screen, our idea is to bring international business English experts like today and the upcoming webinars that we're going to have, and share those international speakers and their ideas with the people in Russia and, of course, other countries as well too. And we also want to provide, workshops. Right now, of course, most of them are going to be online to help teachers to transition to teaching business English and helping to educate them about what business English is. And that's what our speakers are going to do today. And we also want to create sort of a networking, platform for people to share things and feel free and not feel so alone in this business English world, which sometimes we can feel very much alone. I know that was my feeling when I first joined a Basic group. And of course, like I said, we want to always provide continuing education, professional development workshops face-to-face when we can, which we did. Trendy English made that possible last year in Moscow, our first live event. This year it's not going to be possible. So this is why we're moving it online. And I just want to repeat before I sign off here and turn that over to Ekaterina, is that we do plan yearly events, and this one, of course, is just a series of events leading up to our main event, which will take place at the end of August. If you're on the Basic Russia group page on Facebook, this is where all the information will be given. So I'm going to just turn that over now to Elena, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, and now it is time to begin. So it's 10 o'clock. So we are really happy to welcome our 2 speakers. So the first speaker today is Ekaterina Chignova from Russia, from Moscow, and she is really famous, in the business world in Russia. So, but before Ekaterina starts speaking, according to the Trendy English tradition, let us first of all give our smiles in the chat. Let us switch on the cameras and greet Ekaterina, because it is always nice to see your faces. So, all right. Evgeny already said a lot about Ekaterina, and I'm sure Ekaterina, you will also say a few words about yourself. Yeah? So
yeah, sure.
I'll give you the floor. So it's all yours.
Thank you so much. And I guess that I need a permit to demonstrate my screen as well. And yeah, thanks for that applause and for your faces. It's really interesting to be having this feedback, and I will actually comment on that today a little bit because now we live in a new reality, new normal, so to say. So our business English is, of course, a little bit changing, yeah, together with everything in the world. So let me just demonstrate and show you my presentation, just a sec, and we will start. Today it's actually going to be a discussion, and I hope that you will be able to ask me questions, and we will have like some kind of communication. I'm not sure that I will be able to break you into groups, but I will tell you about techniques that we are using during online trainings right now. So just a sec, for some reason, it doesn't want to show me my presentation. Okay.
So can you share?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Right.
Yeah, is it okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, it's fine?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So I've already given a number of talks on that topic and a few trainings for teachers. So today I decided to add some new information, but of course relying on basics. I have been already introduced to the audience, but just let me show you a few facts and figures about myself that actually let me be here today, and let me, let's say, be able to give you a few pieces of advice and just a few recommendations on the fundamentals of teaching business English. And I think the main reason for that is the combination of my linguistic education and business education, my ongoing experience in running the school and in taking, let's say, managerial decisions. But we will talk about whether it's that necessary actually to be teaching business English, because should everybody become school owners, you know, in order to teach business English? Of course not. So I will start with my favorite slide that I show everywhere, and that is a little bit mind-breaking for teachers, that actually, while teaching business English, we have a little bit different rules from, let's say, general English. The thing is that we let our students make mistakes, because very often, and if you agree with me, the goal of business English course is not to be impeccable and not to be, you know, perfect in your English, but it's about having the possibility to, let's say, get the message across, to reach the goal, and to have a deal. So if you sign the deal, nobody actually cares how many mistakes you make. Then second principle that you're going to see here, it says say it. By say it, I mean that very often in Russia we have this kind of a barrier when people, they always think before they say, they are like, you know, frustrated, whether it's present simple or present perfect. Oh my God, how should I welcome my guest over here? And you know, these kind of problems, they are a little bit prevent our business people, our managers from being successful, because they think too much about things that actually are not so relevant in business English. And finally, repeat and repeat. This is the principle that, again, I believe that you should, let's say, portray during your lessons, that some cliches, they should be just learned. Let's say when you have a guest at your office, or maybe when you are welcoming your guest before negotiations start, you should have your students, should have some, let's say, cliches on the tip of their tongue. So let's say something can be understood, but something can be just learned. And that's why just our course, it should just compose all steps, where we let them freely talk, making mistakes, where we force them to avoid unnecessary pauses, and where we make them learn certain cliches so that they feel fluent and they feel confident. Okay, so let me start by first impression. The thing is that whenever we have, let's say, a corporate client, or let's say some potential group where there are managers of business English, and they request a course of business English, we honestly have a headache. Why? Because the first thing, that this first common mistake of a business English teacher is wrong self-presentation. So I'm going to show you just a few examples right here on the slide, and maybe you're going to, let's say, find something in common with your own self-presentation. Maybe not, maybe you are already professional, but that's what we see in our practice. We have more than 100 teachers in our team, and even good teachers sometimes present themselves like this. So take a look, yeah? They say, hi, my name is Anna and I'm the teacher of this school. Okay, let's start. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah? Or second version. Hi, I'm Dasha. What's your name? Well, that might be good for a group of kids, yeah, where kids, let's say, can't just run away. I'm not a teacher of kids, so that's why I'm not saying anything. But that's definitely kind of strange, yeah, for, let's say, business audience. Any maybe ideas, if you have some comments, you can tell me or share with me. Are we allowed to have some conversation, Yelena? Is it okay if I ask the audience? Yeah? Okay.
Sure.
So guys, can you tell me your ideas regarding what is the problem? Yeah, so the previous one, what seems to be the problem here with these presentations of teachers who are about to start their business English course? So maybe somebody can share with me their ideas, or in chat, or maybe orally. I don't see anybody. Yeah.
Maybe it's too informal, for example, like the second one, it is too informal. If it is a teacher, as you said, introducing themselves to the students, that sounds kind of informal, like a friend. And no, yeah, like no background information, somebody said, Ron says, yeah.
So that's like too informal. I see that Tatiana is suggesting a version, something like, let me introduce myself to you. So a little bit more classical constructions. Yeah, okay. Not enough just to say a name. Okay, Julia, thank you. Right, and if you mentioned that, how do you think, what is the length of a good and actually sufficient self-presentation? What's the length? How do you think? Too simple and informal. It's better to give a little more information about a teacher's background. Thank you. Nadezhda is saying that it's actually 3 minutes, the perfect timing, and 5-7 sentences. Yeah, I see. Well, Nadezhda, I'm afraid 3 minutes can be a bit too long if we speak about real elevator pitch, but for a teacher actually with some serious background, that can be just right. Yelena writes 1 minute. Too straightforward. Yeah, it's great that we have some teachers who, let's say, represent other cultures, because very important, and we will speak today about that, is to really keep in mind cross-cultural awareness, that what's good for one culture can be totally inappropriate for the other, right? So let's say we can't still be thinking within the framework only of our culture. You know, from my students, from my business English students, I often hear the comment, oh, come on, in Russia, that's just fine. That's exactly how we do. So sometimes our job as a teacher, as a trainer, is to show them just the other side, you know, of the planet, just other culture of their potential partners, and that what works in Russia actually may not work elsewhere, right? Okay, so thank you for your variants, and let's move on. Actually, I'm gonna introduce you to the questions which are supposed to be covered, and that's what we practiced during our MBA course. Actually, not even one day. We did it pretty much every module, every offline module started with self-presentation. So let's say you teach them not to be that you start with yourself because you are a teacher. So before starting any business English course, make sure you have your self-presentation written. It's never gonna be on the spot, believe me. If you are just on the spot, spontaneous, oh, hi, I'm Kate Chignova, it's gonna look not professional enough. You will forget facts. You will maybe, you know, misinterpret some words. You may forget even your name. Sometimes it happens, really. You start talking too much, maybe about the course, and I had a situation, and then the group was like, and what's your name? You know, so I was talking for 2 minutes about my course, but I forgot to mention I'm Kate. So that's why when we prepare our self-presentation, the first golden rule is that it should be written and it should be well structured. Then you can see right here that you cover what does your company do. It's a very common mistake to say, let's say, the word about your school or about your company that you believe is very famous in your region, you know? And I like this example that I bring forward very often. It's about RZD, a very famous company in Russia, isn't it? But my students who used to travel to networking events in Europe, they, you know, they like to say over here, is that, hi, I'm Andrei from RZD, and I'm a top manager. And surprise, nobody actually was impressed. And he was like, sometimes if you do not give the information about your school, how many years it's been on the market, how many years you've cooperated with it, and so on, this information that you work for a certain school, it's just lost on your audience. They don't care, they don't understand, you see. Maybe it's a famous school in Yaroslavl or in Moscow or in Germany, but if you do not comment, let's say we've been doing that for 10 years, we have extensive experience on that, it's lost on your audience. It doesn't give you additional weight. Then next one, very often we say, I am a teacher. Okay, that's great. And there is even some video, yeah, I am a teacher, this very pathetic one. But your group and your audience will understand and will be on the same page with you if you tell them what problem you actually solve. So you have to be just saying, I help people, or every day I'm here for you to break your barrier and blah, blah, blah. So you answer that question again in advance, not spontaneously. Spontaneously, it's pretty much impossible, only of course if you are just a master of public speaking, but you don't have to be. That's what I'm saying. You really don't have to be. You just can prepare that talk once and for all, and later on, whenever you have a new client, you feel confident that you will produce the right first impression. So you write that about yourself. You really take a pen or you type and you prepare the answer. What problem do you solve? What problem of your audience, of your group, of your students do you solve, right? Then next, how is your product or service unique? In this case, I speak about your methods, your techniques, your course, yes, and what exactly you do, what makes you professional, what makes you think that you can teach business English. And I'm sure even if you are only starting this career of teaching business English, you do have certain experience in managing groups before, even if it was general English, you should know what is unique. Let's say, you can say, I'm especially good at holding the audience's attention, or I'm really great, or I'm keen on actually conducting quizzes. Yeah, so you need to know what is your strong point. Maybe you are great at giving homework and checking that, so I personally hate checking homework, really, that's my soft points, let's say. But nevertheless, everybody has their own unique thing in their teaching. So it's great if you can know that, if you can talk about this. And again, that gives weight and that assures your audience that you are worth actually having, you are worth hiring. And finally, this is, of course, it's a more fundamental question, but I gave you this just that you can work, so that you can work with your audience, to your group, or just even with your individual student. The thing that it comes not from Russian culture, but from this idea of, let's say, cross-cultural communication, is that your self-presentation shouldn't be too selfish, if you know what I mean. It shouldn't be, my trainer, Tembi, he told me, guys, in Russia, you try to sell from the first moment you see a person. You're like, you make your self-presentation, and pretty much at the end, you are ready to give dollars, in your eyes. So even if really that's your job, let's say you're a teacher, and of course you get money, you have your fees. The idea is that at the end of your self-presentation, you should offer something that is for free, You say something that is just easy, how you can help the audience. And sometimes the answer to this question may start with, for example, I help people every day by creating a group, like, picking up on what Ron said before, yeah? We have a group, just join our group, be happy there, read the news, and just stay with us, yeah? Okay, I have my own Instagram page, just follow me. I'm gonna put there useful videos so that you can stay in touch. So, actually, of course, it's disputable, but the international tradition of self-presentation is that you guys don't sell. You shouldn't be finishing your self-presentation with the phrase, okay, 2,000 rubles per lesson. buy me. Yeah. So that's like the wrong approach, you know. I mean, you can do that. Maybe you can tell me that is successful, but I did it before, and that was the point I worked on. They told me, Kate, just delete dollars from your eyes. It's annoying, you know, it's just annoying. Be professional, and people will come back to you themselves. So that's why at the end, we just basically, I mean, we start with ourselves, but of course, next step is we teach our students, right? We make them think what they can do for free and how they can help their audience. So it's pretty much very close to the idea of value. You help to learn the language and you are ready to share, again, for free. So this is a quick scheme. This is usually the idea of my first lesson. So what I did now to you is that I shared with you a plan for first 20 or 30 minutes with whatever new group I'm having. Why it's necessary? Because sometimes top managers, they are a little bit arrogant, you know? You enter there, I know, young girl or a young man, they of course have certain doubts. Should they trust you, you know? And you say, okay, could you please guys introduce yourself? And they start. Very often it's just something like, I'm Andrei, I am from logistics department. Oh, I'm Kate, I'm from accounting. That's how they introduce themselves. You say, okay, anything else you can say about yourself? Normally, it's really a problem. At least for Russian people, it's not that easy to come up with a self-presentation. There is a stereotype in our society that self-presentation, it's only for salespeople, that you need self-presentation only when you sell. It's actually a bit old-fashioned approach. I do believe that every specialist, every person should have the ability of presenting themselves, because whenever we talk to new people, we sell our skills, we sell our professionalism. It's not about money, it's just about authority, it's just about how you're going to interact in future. So that's why after you do this, you know, warm-up discussion, you actually tell them that, okay, try speaking for 1 minute, and you will see how very often they start stumbling and mumbling and they don't actually know what to say. So in this case, it's great if you can come up with your own self-presentation to your group, to your community, yeah, and then practice with them this skill. This self-presentation that they're gonna write at your lesson, it will last, you know, it will serve them for many years ahead, because it's not about looking for a job immediately. It's just about being able to describe to even a colleague from just another department, I mean, maybe in an international company, being able to just say what you do, what you specialize in, and what are your strengths, what are your interests, and what's your contribution. Yeah. So the point of 1 minute is that every step you see here, right? It's 1, 2. Yeah, guys, if you have questions, please just yeah. Ron writes that it's about small talk and networking. Don't worry, Ron, I will have it later. And so every step over here takes about 1 or 3 sentences. And that is how you can eventually have this 1 minute of your self-presentation. So just as an example, take a look. Part of this self-presentation has been announced by Evgeny. But here, I just wanted to show you how I prepared mine, yeah, my self-presentation. So look, there are some keywords. I show them in bold, and that's how I work with my audience as well. So we speak about who I am, yeah, co-founder. Then I speak about the company. We are listed on top 10 Moscow language schools and have been teaching children adults for 8 years now, yeah. So I say what exactly we do, because just the name may tell you nothing. As I have already said, doesn't matter how famous your company is, it's important just to say what it does and let's say their specialization. So then what we are good at, yeah, then again, if we look back, Just a sec. No. So you place yourself, then you give a relevant background, right? Sometimes students, when they start presenting themselves, they start saying, oh, you know, I have a dog, or, you know, I like walking in the park. Well, that's good here, but without relevant background, again, you can just lose your audience. And we had such cases too, when the teacher, usually it's for native speakers, I mean, I'm not trying to blame anybody, I'm just saying statistics. When they over here on this point 3, they say something about, you know, their background, how they grew up in America, where they lived, and 30 minutes of this talk. No, guys, it's impossible. Business English, that's why it's expensive, because actually you are there to help everybody reach their business goals, you see? So you can't afford to be speaking about yourself only. It's 1 sentence or 2 sentences maximum about relevant background. Then you say what you are good at, and that's very good expressions. And the reason I'm here is la 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 la, yeah? And finally, my contribution. I am excited to get to teach you how to excel your business communication skills today. So that is my contribution to you, and that's all I'm about to say, let's say, about myself. So by structuring your talk like that, you can reach, and of course learning it, yeah, you can just feel really confident, and you can help your students prepare similar talks, similar presentations about themselves. And again, they will be grateful to you just for many, many years ahead. Okay, so if you have any questions to self-presentation, please do not hesitate to ask me. But I'm going to move on. As I have said, I changed my presentation because there's probably some of you already saw my talks on TrendyEnglish and MMA, and I've given about a dozen of such talks. So I just today decided to give you something new, like something fresh. So here is my list of must-have things. Yeah, so must-haves for business English courses. So I will teach you today about how your students can set SMART goals. Does anybody know the idea of SMART over here? I'm sure you do. Can you just put pluses or minuses in our chat so that I can understand? Okay, super. So today, in this case, I will just show you how you can use that during your course. And again, we speak about first impression. We speak about how you can just prepare this, let's say, successful base, yeah, for your future group, so that they do not, I don't know, they do not say, oh, can we try another teacher, or just whatever, like things happen like this. And according again to our statistics, sometimes that is the reason why teachers of general English do not want to try business groups, because they think they are too harsh, they are like too demanding. But actually, if you just have your first lesson amazingly structured, believe me, there is no chance they can just deny you as a teacher. So then we will speak about networking and following up. I skip small talk because I talked about that a lot, and I will just tell you where you can watch that for free at my, we have it recorded. Self-presentation, that's what we train, and we already discussed it with you. Business correspondence. So I will just tell you a few insights of what is extremely important. Of course, it's a separate long topic, yeah, and most business books cover that as well. But I will just tell you what's like truly important that you just be aware as a trainer, as a teacher. And finally, 2 last points, which maybe differ business English from general English, is that you actually can't learn business English without training your soft skills and without raising cultural awareness. So just because you have to interact with other cultures to reach your goals, to be successful. So just let's move on and let's look at some business course books that, let's say, didn't have that information, but these books I started with. I started my career in 2007, and these were the books on the market. I really scrutinized them all, and a lot of words, a lot of interesting texts, but very little actually cross-cultural communication things. The exception is this one. You still might want to take a look at this English for Business Communication. Is there anybody who knows this book? You know, this one about socializing, telephoning, meetings, and negotiating. It's the one that is really old already, but it actually gave me some kind of platform, and it has a lot of flow charts for your audience, for your groups to train and practice different vocabulary. The books that we are using now for our business English, they are the following. Well, Market Leader, I put it, despite the fact I personally do not use it. For me, it's too overburdened with vocabulary that your students may never use in their life and may never even face in their life. But if we speak about income, company or business partner, there are other levels. These books, they truly have new approach, and even if you are inexperienced, you will have a chance to just follow the course, you know, and be trendy. Well, let me use the word of our partner, of the organizer. So you're really gonna be trendy if you take these books, because they will guide you. Of course, the more experience you gain, the easier it becomes to combine courses, you know, to add something from your trainings. But even if you really have no skills at all, not yet, you can take the book and you can just strictly follow the guidelines. Okay, so let me just carry on by giving you the idea of lessons with SMART objectives. So you said you know that, guys. Could you maybe tell me what these letters stand for? S-M-A-R-T. Do we have any brave person in our audience who can share? Maybe chat, maybe orally. Okay, Yelena, I don't doubt you know that. I was kind of hoping that the teachers, so specific, Yelena writes measurable, attainable, time-bound, okay. Where is my chat? It disappeared. I can't see the last one. That is for, yeah. So I will just, yeah. I got it. Just a sec. And reachable. Okay, Anna is already following up. Great. So yeah, well, of course, it's not about just learning by heart what these letters stand for. It's about understanding, and I just want to show you the principle. For example, you start again your first lesson or maybe your second lesson, and you ask them, okay, what's your goal? Guys, what do you want to achieve? Why are you actually here? You know, the worst answer that can be is that my company paid for me and that's why I'm here. These type of students, let's say you need to a little bit knock them, yeah? Knock them down and just a little bit shake them and say, come on, that's a great opportunity. Let's set just SMART goals for you personally. Because whenever you are setting a SMART goal, you just make it clearer. Because I want to learn English for work, it's like clear, but at the same time, totally vague, isn't it? What is it? What is for work? For what work? You don't work now? Yeah, I do work now. So, and you start asking questions. And that is my technology. That is what, let's say, what I do. I show them this slide, or we use just whiteboard in case of offline education. And I just tell them to answer the question. So let's say just to decompose this goal, I want to learn English for my work, into questions. Yes? What exactly do you want to learn? What? Okay, I want to master business partner B2 within half a year. Yeah, you see? Does it sound different? Of course. The thing about setting SMART objectives is that it first of all helps you guys, I mean teachers, yeah? The fact that when you make your students understand their goals, they don't blame you for not reaching their goal within a month. Because sometimes I hear such comments from our clients, again, with, I mean, different teachers, yeah? Oh, you know, I've been learning for already a month and I see no progress. You're like, what kind of progress you wanted to see within a month? Well, I have a business meeting now and I know, you know, I started this meeting and I felt language barrier. Okay, what was your initial level? It was pre-intermediate. oh my God, surprise, 1 month and you don't feel confident at a business meeting. So without setting smart objectives, sometimes the phrase, I want to learn English for my work, may, lead you to potential clusters. Because actually, what are the criteria? What are the figures? It should be measurable. 6 months, 2 times a week, 90 minutes, and you're gonna get your goal. You're gonna reach that. You're gonna get what you want. 1 month, once a week, no. You see? So like that, you can kind of bargain with them. You can help them understand that what they set for themselves is not achievable. It's just not achievable, because under these circumstances and with these resources, like allocating only 1 time a week, it's just not gonna work. But you don't, say that just on the basis of nothing. You do that using a special business approach that is absolutely world known. Then relevant. And by the way, my experience shows that when company pays for students, sometimes the hardest thing for them is this, relevant. Because you ask them, okay, why do you need that? They say, I don't need it. So this is really the worst. So in this case, your job as a trainer is to find relevancy for them, really, because without, if they can't answer the question why they do it, it will be very hard for you to motivate them, and they will stop doing their homework in 2 lessons. They will not understand where they're going because it's not relevant. That's why you need to show them how it relates to their goals, and pay attention, not immediate goals. Here we may speak about long-term goals, right? Because language hates silence, and irrelevancy can sometimes just mean that they are only working on their vocabulary and lexis, not to lose their skill. So okay, tomorrow they will not change the job, but what if they do it in a year? It's absolutely relevant to be working on your language now. And timed, yeah, the deadlines. Well, that's exactly what we discussed about 6 months or 3 months. So it's really bad in business English to learn forever. Your students should understand. I know that sometimes teachers have amazing relationship with their students. I'm the same. I used to be the same when I was just, let's say, a teacher face-to-face. Now I have almost no individual students. I just don't like it. I mean, I'm really bored. But if you do that, if you like permanent forever teacher, you just one day understand that you have become not a trainer, but just a psychologist for your student. And for general English, that's fine, because you can still use vocabulary, you can still be doing things like that. But for business English, it's really bad, because they have an impression that they're not moving anywhere. I mean, your students, and you don't want that. You don't want that for your career. You don't want people to be thinking that they are just having some, wishy-washy language with you and just discuss that. Okay, so by practice, what I always do when I show my students this idea, I let them have a piece of paper, or of course, if they have exercise books, that's amazing. I do believe that everybody should have an exercise book, even for a business English course. And they just really literally take a pen or type and answer every question for themselves. After that, what I ask them to do, I ask them to break into pairs and talk about their SMART goals to each other. So by talking to each other, it's always clear that, for somebody it's easier, somebody is very precise with their goals, but for somebody it's so hard to find motivation. And in this case, their partners, their group mates, they usually help them, and you do not hold the whole responsibility. And this is just one more thing that I would like to make here, one more point, that being a business English teacher, to my mind, this is about not having, or not, let's say, bearing all responsibility. Please don't take too much on your shoulders. These guys, your students, are usually much cooler than you are. They learn business. They can earn 10 times more than you, 100 times more than you. It's fine. Let them rule. Yeah, you let them talk to each other, find their motivation. You are just the person, you are a facilitator, you are watching, you are guiding, but you are not pushing. Okay, one more principle, and this is also part of our course. I mean, the one that we prepared, that we have, as you saw before, and as Evgeny showed, I'm the co-author of Professional English course about soft skills. And so we also speak about follow-up principles. I'm not going, I already see that my timing is, oh my God, yeah, so I would like to show you a few more tips, but this table is also very important to work with. It's in my session, these are 3 lessons that we train this, because sometimes your students think that their poor English doesn't let them make good context. But the reality is, it's not their poor English, it's the fact that they follow up in the strange way. So for me, this information about following up and staying in touch, it was just crucial. It was so revealing that, for example, I truly can't follow up my contact, for example, 1 month later, just saying, hey, how are you? How are you doing? And without reminding about myself earlier, for example. So just we have really a separate unit that covers this follow-up principle. And I do believe that we need to practice this with our students and discuss it, because again, as I said, it's not about your language very often. It's just about channel of communication. It's about how quickly you react, and it's about the adequate style. That's it. Okay, so business correspondence, what should be covered here? Of course, apart from grammar, apart from style, it's absolutely clear that you should work on that too. What I always teach my students. So of course I teach them to distinguish between styles. This is spoken, semi-formal, and formal. So your students definitely should be able to immediately detect what style they see in front of their eyes. And the fundamental principle of cross-cultural communication says that if you're professional, it's not that you use one style only. You know, for Russians, it has been just popular to use formal style as a sign of good level of English. So they learned all this, you know, we are looking forward to hearing from you, or we apologize for any inconvenience caused. So they know these long cliches and they think that's how they should write everybody. But what happens is that whenever they get some letter from a colleague, you know, of similar level, something like, hey, dude, could you help me with that? And in reply, our Russian manager writes, of course, I will look forward to your further information. I will get back to you just at latest by Friday. So of course, this manager using contractions, spoken English, is a little bit taken aback. And what we see here is that when we see a style from our incoming correspondence, we have to use Miro Principle, so-called, yeah? Do you know anything about Miro Principle? Well, probably that's even here, but I just, okay, I wanna, I just want to write it to you here, if you don't mind. So we use Miro Principle. That means that we do not insist on the style we like. For example, we like formal, and what? We actually mirror the style of our interlocutor, of our partner. And in this case, we sound much more logical and adequate in the business context. So that's why it's important not just to teach your students formal style, you have to tell them why you teach them this. And sometimes you really tell them that you have to use spoken English to reach your goals, because that's what your partner wants. Look at his messages. He doesn't want to be on this formal terms with you. Yeah. So of course we speak about job titles, how to put it correctly. That's also first month of your business English course. You just check, because sometimes it's really funny how people call themselves. For example, one of my students, she is the owner of the school for personal assistants. Her business card said that she's a mommy of assistants. I'm not joking, mommy. I said, what's that? She said, oh, you know, I just thought how to translate главное по ассистентам, and I decided that mommy of assistants at school, isn't it? So sometimes, if it's business English, you really want to help them not to look very stupid in front of their, just others, yeah, in front of their friends and future colleagues. And if you give a business card and it's written mommy of assistants, really, I want to ask, who is your teacher, really, in this case? So Globish, and this is the principle that is worth discussing separately. Probably I will leave it for our Q&A session after my presentation. I will just say a few words about that too. And a teacher of business English must be aware of that, because again, it's a little bit old-fashioned to think that we all speak this amazing English, you know, run by native speakers. It's not true anymore. We speak the language that is international, that is really globish, so global English, yeah? Okay, and yeah, channels of communication. Okay, so let me continue. And I have just a few more things to go about cross-cultural awareness. And this is the table I really like. You can take a look over here when we just discuss different nationalities from just different perspectives. So let's say dialect-oriented versus data-oriented. This is just the table that I use during my trainings when we speak about types of meetings, and we learn to prepare for meetings with different cultures. And of course, in this case, you really want to know, yeah? So how do you think? Who is more dialect-oriented and who is more data-oriented? We actually have German representatives here. So you see, guys, Louis put you to 13, yeah, to, I mean, the nationality, at least, of course, it's all about stereotypes. We are all different if we speak about individuals, but when you are preparing for cross-cultural communication, you need to know the stereotypes. It's true too, yeah? So Germans, Swedes, and Finns are considered to be really data-oriented, and vice versa. Latin Americans, they are more about how are you doing, and you know, this, let's say, small talk is truly important. I see that somebody is writing, I don't know what, maybe you are arguing with me, but you know, this business partner book by Pearson, it covers a lot of these dilemmas between Latin Americans and, for example, Americans and Germans and Asian people as well. So they show a lot of things, a lot of problems that arise exactly from cross-cultural misunderstanding. That's why I truly love this book. I mean, I recommend it because it gives you these insights, and very illustrative, because these are videos, you know, option A, option B, how to act, and all students, they find something new, even those who have been working in international companies for many years. Yes, so that's why, just to show that, of course, it's not the only gradation. Richard Lewis has the whole book about cross-cultural awareness. So I personally take a lot of information from that just to add and just to prove my point why we should just also learn that and pay attention to that, especially to men. You know, sometimes Russian businessmen, you tell them, okay, Andrei, you have to be saying, oh, we are so glad to have you. Would you like some tea or coffee? Am I a secretary? I'm a Russian man. I would like to say how I like. And you really sometimes have to persuade that, yes, you can do that, no problem. But you should be a master of your language. If it's appropriate, you do as you prefer. But if it's your Asian investor who has arrived and who has had a long flight, and if you don't ask anything and you like to do business in front of the door, just say, okay, that's a deal, yeah? You are unlikely to be successful on the international arena, no matter how great your English is. It's really about all this, you know, showing respect to each other. And the final thing probably over here is just the thing that I also like to show to my students, and I used it during my training with teachers, but it was a live training, yes, with possibility to group teachers. So today I have less possibilities. I mean, I'm sorry that I can't like let you talk with each other, but anyway, I hope you'll find it useful. And so, for example, here, we talk about this very popular thing about saying no, yeah? in Russian, I always ask my students, is it okay if you say, я думаю, что это не так? Everybody usually in Russian tells me, yeah, that's fine. It's a normal phrase. It's not rude at all. But in English, it sounds like, I think you are wrong. And I think you guys, my dear colleagues, you support me on that. That in English, I think you are wrong. Despite the fact it is grammatically correct, it's actually not correct from the business perspective. And what I also teach my students is that you put negation whenever you disagree with your partner to yourself. You are saying, I'm not sure that is okay. So psychologically, the partner, here's the second part of your sentence, which is positive, you see? And like you train that skill, because for Russians, it is not obvious. Yes, and it's not obvious for Russians to understand it, because in our language, we don't pay attention to this. But it is crucial for English to be able to say, I don't think you are right, but you are right. You see, maybe it's my problem that I don't think so. Maybe the company will provide another manager and your rapport, your relationship will maintain. If you say, I think you are wrong, that is kind of insulting, and you don't want to insult business partners. And then you think, oh, my English is poor. No, it's not about English. It's just about cross-cultural awareness. So these are examples that help you to show the importance of this course. Okay, and pretty much I'm moving to the end, guys, and let me erase this Miro Principle, or maybe not, because that's the key idea of our business communication. And let's say we are very happy to be part of BSIG Russia and TrendyEnglish community. I'm always honored to be invited to be speaking on that topic, because I fully share the principles of Yelena and Ron. I mean that business English is not maybe that obvious, but it's really worth learning and worth discussing, because first of all, it's better paid, really, it's better paid. And second of all, it is it's so interesting to be able to get on well with such guys, you know, with great people who have achieved great results in their careers, in their businesses, and you are on the same level with them, right? So you're on the same room and you are training them. Isn't that amazing? So just the statistics in Russia is sometimes really strange, because when we have a corporate client, our teachers are like, oh, business English, no, not yet. Yes, just maybe 50 more years and then I'm ready. So you are ready when you are ready. I mean, you just have to tell yourself that, okay, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I'm gonna just be strong. And the last thing, if I'm allowed, I want to share a present from us, because of course we have presents from everybody, from communities, but we also have a present from us, which is one module for free using the promo code BSIG. And you can just go to this, our online professional English school for teachers, where you are able to just watch any module you prefer yourself. It's going to be socializing or self-presentation or business correspondence, or 6 modules altogether. And I really hope that you just, let's say, get more information and you feel more self-confident about starting that career. That, of course, I don't know who is here. Maybe there are more professional people than I am, yeah. But just at least it's always interesting about sharing and about this exchange. That's why I fully support the idea of community. Thank you.
All right, great, Ekaterina. Thank you so much. It was really interesting and informative, and we have some time for questions. And if you allow me to actually read some questions from the chat box to begin with. So one of the questions here is, what books would you recommend to read about cultural differences?
Mm-hmm. What books? Well, so Richard Lewis, he's it's already, I'm really bad, I'm bad with figures, so that's why I can't say the year, but he's considered to be the founder of these cross-cultural things and cross-cultural awareness. So if you just Google him, he, as if I'm not wrong, he wrote about 5 books on different aspects of cross-cultural communication, covering different nationalities and how it should work, how you should approach an Asian person, how you should approach an American person, a German, a British. And you know, I'm not saying that you should just deeply dig there. I'm afraid it will take you too much time, but just to have a general picture, that can be really great. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And there was one question about Miro Principle. What is Miro Principle? Somebody was asking, what is Miro Principles?
I have Miro on my background. So basically, if you go there, who you gonna see? Yourself, right? If you come to a Miro and you see a total stranger over there, if you, for example, you're wearing a t-shirt, you know, and you have no makeup, you're relaxed, that's how, and that's who you wanna talk, right? With, I mean. But if suddenly the person from the Miro starts using formal style, wearing a suit and talking to you this way, you're gonna be a little, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, right? So Miro Principle, принцип отзеркаливания. So this is something you follow your partner. You do not push your style, vice versa. You just try to be very, like, you know, flexible. And flexibility is part of being successful in business English, or actually just in business, I would say.
I'd like to jump in, Elena, and ask a question.
Okay.
And Ekaterina, you know, you've been teaching business English for a while. And is there anything that maybe you could tell us about maybe 3 don'ts of doing business in Russia? If I'm not Russian and I want to come and do business with Russians, what would maybe be 3 things that I should know, that I should do, and 3 things maybe that I shouldn't do?
Oh my God, about shouldn't do, that's interesting. But about what you should know is that we are really quick. I mean, for us, the culture of this small talk before is really hard, and it's not typical. That's why we might seem a little bit rude from the point that we just, you know, we may immediately grab you and take you to the meeting room, and okay, you're gonna have coffee, that's fine, but you're gonna be forced to immediately run negotiations about, you know, investing your money into Russian business. Let's say, you might not feel that supported for that. But for some cultures, it's fine. For example, now Americans are also considered to be pretty direct, and they are fine with this approach. But if we speak about Europeans, or at least if we speak about Asian culture, that's a big no. And you know, also one more thing about communicating with Asian people that was shocking for me is that when they are listening attentively to you, that they close their eyes. It's so funny because you think they are sleeping. They don't actually like you, but at the end of your presentation, they open their eyes and they say, okay, that was not bad, and you're about already to faint, you know. And you have to show this to your students as well. You have to give them the possibility to interact like this within a group, to show and to share experience all the time, because that builds up trust, and that builds up this connection of just non-stop sharing different cases. But Ron, after the meeting, you're gonna be taken to Banya, so small talk will happen there. So we just have the other order in our country. That's it.
I know, I learned that.
Yeah. All right, it was a great question, yeah, Ron, yeah?
I wanted to add, so are you saying that it's important if you're teaching business English to Russian business people, that they learn the skill of small talk, that you know, is that something that you teach?
Yes, and you know, I'm very happy that modern books of business English, and I saw in the chat a question about business English, and I guess you will send the recording to all participants. I showed the second slide with in-company English and business partner of all levels. They do have a special unit devoted to small talk, and moreover, they offer a checklist, you know. For a Russian person, I think it's just amazing. They have a checklist. Okay. to ask about the flight, to offer tea or coffee, okay, to understand this and that, you know, and like tick, 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 tick. And it helps because first time it's like a torture, but the more you do that, the just more natural it becomes. And believe me, all teachers, we should start from ourselves. It's important that we don't just teach this, but we do that. And you know how I check? For example, I check in our school, we have foreign teachers, of course, and Russian teachers. And if a teacher is sitting with a book preparing for a business English lesson while other foreign teachers are having tea or coffee and standing alone, for me, this teacher is not a teacher of business English, because you can't teach that if you don't take part in it yourself. And it's not about energy. It's about just the habit of at least saying, hi, how are you? How was your day? It's just about this skill, because we can't afford to be totally closed in business English. We just can't afford that. I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe that's categorical, but just that's what my practice shows.
Thank you.
Well, I want to make sure that I, can ask 2 more questions from the chat box. So the first question is, what if you end up having a group of students of different levels in the Russian business environment? For example, pre-intermediate and upper intermediate. How do you go about that?
I didn't really get the point whether it's in one group, pre-intermediate and
guess
upper.
so. Yes.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. I absolutely agree. Nevertheless, it's possible. And this is, I would say, some kind of requirement from modern corporate clients. Sometimes they really don't have a chance to divide their staff in too many groups. They have to pay for that, right? So that's why sometimes it's a necessity to divide people. What you do in this case, you actually train them in, you train soft skills, which is relevant for all levels, for pre-intermediate and for upper intermediate. But what I usually do, I separate them into groups, of course, according to their levels. For example, if they work on their self-presentation, pre-intermediate, 2 people or 3 people would be working together, and upper intermediate would be working together. So yes, all presentations that are open, they would be given to the whole audience, and it's fine. Somebody will be giving weaker version, somebody would be almost impeccable, but by actually just training the soft skills, there is not much vocabulary there. It's really about understanding and practicing. And what I tell the pre-intermediate students, I just say, you have to repeat 20 times. You can repeat 2. You have to do 20. That's it. That's the only way it can work. If you, of course, you want it to work. So, but it's a challenge. I absolutely agree. It's very, very hard like this.
Can I jump in, Ellen, and ask something about grammar?
Ron, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. There is one more question that has been waiting here forever. And I think that we have this one last question because we have to move on and, stick to our time. So if you have some more questions, I'm sure that you can actually, contact Ekaterina.
Yeah, I wrote my personal email, which is ekaterina.chignova@gmail.com. So no problem.
One more question was here forever, so I can't not ask him. So, is it a great challenge to teach businessmen from different countries in one group, and is it worth doing that? That's the question.
Oh, that's amazing. That's what I'm doing exactly, and I've been doing that already for 2 years. All my groups are multinationals. I have people from Germany, France, Switzerland, and America in one group simultaneously, and I have business owners from different cities in Russia. That is so amazing that sometimes you guys don't even have to do anything. You can just drink coffee and they are sharing their insights. They are always, they are working together. They want to know about each other so much. They are always, so if you have a chance to combine a group which will be international, that's amazing. I'm not sure that it's easy. I have it because I've been working on this for many years, and that's my goal. But in our school, mostly we have just groups from Russia, of course. But if you can have at least one person from another country, believe me, it will be amazing, just because you will get proof. You will not have to be the only one saying they see differently. Maybe the Russians will not believe you, but if there is a person who says, yes, we see it differently, really, come on, or they see differently because I live here, because I work here. So if you have a chance, just don't even think, take this person into your business English group.
I have a group in Moscow like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's
isn't it?
amazing, yeah. 11 different countries in one group.
Oh,
Okay,
that's new
so,
challenge for me probably. Yeah.
so I'm sorry to say, but we have to stop with the questions to be in line with the timing. And before we give our applause and say thanks to Ekaterina, could you please give me one number for our, for the prize winner from 1 to, what is it? From 1 to 49. That is how many participants we have, from 1 to 49.
37, that was the first one. That came to my mind.
37, let me count. I have to count.
Sorry, I should have said 1, yeah, or
It's
2.
fine, yeah.
I will count. It's okay.
Julia will help me. Okay, so Julia, could you count, please? 37.
So we'll give the results later at the very end.
Okay, so Julia keeps track of the winning numbers. She will count and remember the person who won. So it is the reason for you to stay till the very end and find out at the very end who the winner is. So now let's give our applause to Ekaterina. For that, you can switch on your cameras and we just applaud, give applause. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ekaterina. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
It was
Ekaterina.
great. Thank you.
And we are moving on. And today we have one more wonderful speaker. Well, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, but I'll try anyways. Ritha Mejri, is it correct?
I have to unmute myself. It's Reader.
Okay.
Reader. As long as you don't say Rita, that's fine.
For a Russian-speaking person, it is a little bit difficult, to pronounce foreign names. But I hope you forgive me. So we have a wonderful professional here who actually has a lot of experience from working in different countries, in different contexts. Now you are based in Germany, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, and
Yes.
so the floor is all yours. So you have 45 minutes for your talk and then we will have time for questions.
All right. Actually, I can't share my screen. I don't know why. Because other people are sharing. They have to stop sharing, I think.
Julia, can we make sure that our next speaker can share their screen?
Yes, that works
Okay.
now. Yeah,
Great.
that's good. Thank you. All right, so let's see here. Oops, I need to go here. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ron, for offering me this opportunity. I think it happened after the basic, I think the ITEFL basic panel, where we had a chat and you talked about this organization. And I approved that. Elena, thank you very much. Julia for co-hosting, and Ekaterina for your talk. All right, so my talk today is entitled, do we need a different approach to teaching business English or to business English teaching? Okay, so I hope at the end of my talk, I could give you some insights about what I've been doing and that you can, have some inspiration if you want. Okay, so let me introduce myself and use the KISS method, keep it short and simple. My name is Reader Mejri. Some people call me Rita for some reason. That sounds very female. I still get letters in Germany from some institution with Frau, which means Miss or Mrs. Anyway, I have a French and Tunisian background. My wife is German, and I teach business communication and intercultural management. I've been a senior lecturer at the University of Worms, that's in Germany, and I am also an in-company trainer. I do teach business English, technical English, and mostly intercultural management. Okay. So far so good. Ron has already put this in the chat, and most of the attendees or participants have answered that question, because I usually want to know the people, right? So I think most of the people are in secondary and university, and university teachers. Some are others I don't see any company trainer. Probably is that there, I suppose. So this is my talk, and I try to keep it short and simple. I'm going to talk about the VUCA world we live in. Probably some of you have heard about that. I think that acronym. I'll talk about communication. I'll talk about case studies in teaching business English, and I'll show you some example of project work I've been doing at university, and that maybe you can transfer that to your business English teaching wherever you might be doing that. So far, so good. So this is how business English or language teaching was many years ago. I think some people can identify with that. This is 2020, and you could see the difference here. People were stuck in, you know, some people might remember that with the headphones. And this one is more, if you want the 3D or virtual reality we live in. So we've gone a long way. The world has changed ever since. So this is a statement about what companies expect from high potentials, if you want, or people they would like to hire. And as a senior lecturer at university, our study course or study program is about international business administration and foreign trade. And of course, part of the employability of our students is to see what the employers want, of course, and try to integrate that in our curriculum, right? So let's say the 21st century workforce should be resilient, independent learners who have flexible skills and competencies, work well in teams, and can lead themselves and others to perform up to and beyond their potential. Okay, so remember that this is self-independence, taking the initiative, flexibility, and then of course teams, yeah, and competency, and we'll talk about that. So the 4 keys of the 21st centuries are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication, right? And I'd like you to remember all these things because these are really, really very, very fundamental for people who work in the business world, if you want, or even for our students, right? So learning skills, as I said, the 4 C's, yeah, the critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. Of course, we want people to have this digital literacy as well. We live in the 21st century, and our clientele, if you want, are digital natives. Some of us might be a digital migrant or visitors, so we have to adapt to that a little bit, right? Then, of course, you have these life skills, the leadership, the social, soft skills, etc., that are really important. So has anyone heard about this VUCA acronym? Many people talk about the VUCA world we live in, or the post-normal, or back to up-normal. Okay, right? So I think you all agree with me that we live in a world that is very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Okay. And how to deal with that world, right? How to prepare our learners or our students for that world they live in or they operate in, if you want. Okay. So remember, most work done in companies is based on teamwork. Companies, of course, have moved from, I'm talking about multinational corporations or global players. They usually have a functional structure where you have different departments like marketing, logistics, accounting, HR, etc. They have a product line structures, so they organize themselves according to different products. They also have a geographic structure. They are global and local at the same time, big and small, right? centralized and decentralized, with having different subsidiaries all over the world. But then again, the most widely spread structure nowadays is called matrix structure, which is based on project teams. So we have project teams that are not only local, but international, right? And if we say international, I think Ron mentioned that, having even to teach people who are scattered all over the world. And that's the beauty of online teaching. We don't have to be physically there, but then you can communicate with people. So you find yourself working with people who have a multilingual, multicultural background. We have virtual teams, right? So not only because of the coronavirus that people have to do it, but it has been done all over the years now, right? So you can work with people who are based maybe in Singapore, in Dubai, in Paris, right? And then, of course, I don't know whether people have heard about this Scrum. This is the latest Scrum in project management. People work all the time in teams. They build squads. They have daily meetings. They have to report. They got a contract. They design something. They develop it. They test it, and then they deliver, right? So there are constant meetings, if you want. Okay. Very good. Yes, Elena said, yes, we use it at our school. Very good. So even though you, as a business English teacher, nobody expects you to do that. I don't know much about it, to be honest. But if you teach people, that's the beauty of teaching business English. You learn at the same time, right? I remember I went to a company and there were these two ladies telling me about Scrum, right? They have the knowledge about that, but they have the language. So that's the swap business, right? They tell me what it is and I explain to them, because they have to watch a webinar, right? And I would explain to them the wording, the meanings, so that they can understand, right? And I profit from that because I learn something new. Scrum, okay? We as business English teacher, we are not supposed to be knowledgeable. That's not our business, but we need to know at least a bit about many things. These people know a lot about one thing because they are specialists, okay? So I remember I have a patent attorney. So she would tell me about agreement, trademark, etc. Then I would go to a supervisor in a tannery who processes leather for the automobile industry. And at the end of the day, I have someone developing an app for farmers, for smart farming, industry 4.0. That's amazing. So you don't have this opportunity if you don't go to the companies and listen to the people, right? We live in a digital world, I think. Yeah, as I said, our clientele are mostly digital natives. So they use all these tools all the time. And we need to know at least part of it so that we will be surprised. I know many of my colleagues who are taken by surprise suddenly. Wow, I have to shift online. What's online? What's Zoom? What's Microsoft Teams? What's WebEx? How does it work? Do I need a subscription? Yeah, so they felt overwhelmed. So if you prepare yourself, you anticipate, you are well prepared. I don't know whether you've heard about the CFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Yes, okay, Elena said yes, okay. Especially those who teach at high schools or university must have heard about it. These are guidelines for teaching languages, that we move away from purely teaching language for the sake of language, but language in a context, right? That means you have always these skills, the productive skills and the passive skills. Passive would be listening to something, audio files. I'm passive. Reading, yeah? Newspaper or article, that's passive. And then the productive skills like writing, even writing an email, you are being productive, right? Making a phone call, yeah? So you have a lot of reception there, you have production, you have interaction, and the latest one they added is mediation, okay? So that's why I talk about these 4 C's actually, yeah? The critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, which is really crucial. At the end of the day, business all over the world is about people. You delegate people, you manage people, you solve conflicts with people, you sell to customers, to clients, your service or your product. So it's all about people, right? So you have to be a people person. All right, so let's see. Okay, I think Ekaterina talked about designing your and this is very, very crucial. Let's say you get an inquiry from a company, they want to hire you as a business English trainer. And of course, these are the things you have to think about. I call that I did, okay? So I think this is really, really very fundamental. Unless you work for a language school that already, they already have their philosophy if you want, or you teach at university, they have their own program and you have less freedom. So you will have all these things. However, if you have the freedom to design your own course, I would go with, first of all, identify the learner's needs analysis. People have different needs, okay? There are people, they just write emails. Back in the days, I used to teach paralegal who just listen to tapes and they have to type, that's it, right? So it's more about listening, yeah? So you have to clarify that, right? What's the focus? Is that more on the vocabulary in a certain business area? Is it more about the classical thing like email, telephonic, presentation, or negotiations, right? Is it showing people around, etc., etc.? Then, of course, you have to identify the program objectives, right? Bearing in mind how many hours, that's important because people have great expectations, but you have to be realistic as well. You have to identify the topics, and then basically you design suitable learning activities and tasks, right? Tailor-made for your clientele, if you want. All right, guys, just tell me if I'm too quick, right? Then I can slow down. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I think Ekaterina mentioned the SMART by now. So your goals must be SMART, of course, specific, right? You cannot say we are going to do business English, yeah? What kind of business English? So there are different levels. It can be technical English, can be business for lawyers, that's legal English, or technical English, etc. It must be measurable, of course, attainable or achievable, right? Relevant, and of course, time-based. So how would you teach communication? Remember, we talked about the 4 Ps. We said one of the key components there is communication, right? Whether you're at the university level or a business context. How would you teach communication? Can you please write your thoughts in the chat box? Some role plays, very good, Elena, yes. So you can do role plays. Functional language, practice with role plays, through real life situation, very good. By simply communicating, okay, good. Any other ideas? Discussion, yes, very good. That's a good idea, right? Drama, debates, yeah, debates is good, thank you. Okay. You generate a lot of ideas here. Talk shows, yes, why not? Very good. Okay. Practicing writing letters. Okay, very good for those people who would like, and they can read it out, right? Okay. And you can get maybe a feedback, yeah? Write a letter, right? Or write a short email. Oh, you got this email, whatever. Or maybe the people you work for, they have authentic material. You cannot find it, I'm sorry to say this, in any course book, right? As I said, I was coaching this supervisor in a tannery processing leather for the car industry. There's no book on leather processing, right? So people will bring material, right? I got an email, I got an inquiry, right? Discussion on real life situation, commenting on some internet video. Yes, very good, that's brilliant. Yeah, you show a short video, yeah? And you have a lot of interaction on that video, okay? Okay, very good. So we have a lot of ideas here, I can see. Showing pictures, yes, that's a good one. Yeah, pictures, right? Cartoons. Okay, Aliona is writing PBL. Okay, right. What does it mean? Sorry, I didn't get that one. I use a lot of video. Yeah, that's good. Run. Yeah. Okay. Project-based learning. Oh yeah, thank you. We'll talk about that. Thank you. Yes, Aliona, that's a good one. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. When we think about project, we think about a huge thing. No, it can be a basic thing. Yeah. Anything can be a project. Yeah. Planning a holiday can be a project. Okay. Very good. So we have a lot of ideas here. Thank you, guys. I'll show you my ideas. Presentations is one way. Let me go to the chat box very quickly. Yeah, that's the project-based learning. We got that one. Yes. So these are my thoughts on that. But of course, you can talk about anything. Yeah. I know Ron loves mind mapping. So you can. This is brilliant. You can create a mind mapping. There are a lot of tools out there. On the free tools you can use, right, for the digital native if they have their smartphones or tablets, whatever. Role plays are brilliant. You can create any role play, any situation, okay? Business simulation is cool. So, for example, you can, the other day I did one, it's very simple. It's about a football club, for example, in England, they have massive problem. They want to hire players and they have a negotiation with a sponsor, okay? And they give them role plays and people can talk and debate. That's real life. You can negotiate a business deal, right? Even using grammar for the sake of business. Yeah. If I teach you if sentences or conditional sentences in the air, I'll tell you this is type 1, type 2, type 3, mixed tenses, 5,000 sentences without a sense. But if you say, oh, wait a minute, if you make me an offer, I will buy 500 items. Okay, that makes that. This is context. This is real life. Role plays, brainstorming session. You can talk about different subjects relevant to them, of course. Then you can. I need to move this one here. Podcasting is brilliant. Yeah. They can create an interview, they can record themselves. There are a lot of free apps out there. Why don't you use that? Yeah. So they would write something, create a short story, maybe an interviewing a celebrity, your boss or whatever, simulate a negotiation for a pay rise. Videos are a good example as well. Presentation and yeah, okay. Oops, sorry. So you can use, for example, I sometimes use TED-ED. Maybe you can find, they have brilliant videos. They are not long. That's why I love TED. It's about 12 minutes maximum. So people can watch it at home. You can create your account. It's for free, TED Ed for education. You can take any video and create a lesson around it. You can say watch and then think a couple of questions and then dig deep if you want them to reflect, right? That's more for critical thinking if you want. So you don't watch that video and they can watch it at home on their smartphone and then you can have a discussion on that. Yeah, right. Something else I use a lot of brainstorming session. So people talk, there's a debate, right? We have a co-presenter or an assistant, they can write on the board and we have this screenshot and we create a mind map at the end of the day. We talk about relevant topics to them, depending on their needs. We talk about corporate social responsibility, big data, Internet of Things, cryptocurrency like Bitcoins and co, cashless society, is that good or bad? How do you motivate your staff, right? Business ethics, etc., etc. So there are plenty of topics here, right? And they can train their communication skills and overcome their inhibition, if you want, right? Gain maybe self-confidence. It's about the communicative skills at the end of the day and not purely the grammatical skills. I use Padlet. Some of you are, I don't know, are you familiar with Padlet? Let's see the chat. Yes, good. Elena said yes. Aliona, yes, some people are. It's a brilliant tool. It's free. You can generate a lot of brainstorming session. Just tell the people who are maybe shy at the beginning, yeah, especially in a remote situation. For example, remote would say, who are you, right? Define yourself quickly using the KISS method, do an elevator pitch. In a real class, you can have a discussion and people can write, and then you see it on a big screen, right? So that's really brilliant. I do, for example, map of interesting places. So people, this is interesting. People can say, okay, I went to this one. This is what I would like to be. My company is going to send me to work in Singapore, and they can create something like that and experiment with the tools if you want, right? Okay, so that was communication. I also use, okay, let me see the chat. Somebody wrote something. Ron, business.com. Okay, thank you, Ron, for sharing that. I use case studies, and this is very, very interesting thing. A case study can be anything. It can be, you can find some case studies in some business English books, as long as they are relevant for your purposes, of course. It can be a logistic issue. We want to send something from Moscow to China, and we have some issues with insurance or whatever, and you can generate a lot of ideas on that. You can take it maybe deeper. There are bigger, longer case studies. They can be 15, 20 pages. So this is, again, the critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, and so on, okay? I usually use the 4 Ps method. That means, yes, best analysis is a great way to lead interactive business-oriented conversation. Very good, yeah, very good, okay. So usually there's always a position, kind of starting point, then there's a problem, right? They try to find out possibilities and they can make a proposal, okay? So you have a bit of everything there. Debate, reflection, critical thinking, finding the problem, thinking about different scenarios, compromising, finding a proposal, using maybe a flip chart, a whiteboard in a real life situation. Online, you can put people in a breakout rooms. You can give them maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they can present their results. Yeah. So this is a really, really cool idea, right? I'm going to show you an example of how students do that very quickly. This is one on smart cities, for example. It doesn't have to be a long one, right? And it doesn't have to be a PowerPoint or Prezi. It can be, as I said, on a flip chart. They can draw, they can be creative, right? Depending on the situation, right? Whether online or at the company. So you have the position, right? Then you have the problem. So you find out some issues. You find out some possibilities, okay? And then you give some proposal and you end up with the questions, right? And this can lead to another discussion. So there's a communication, people are being productive, right? Maybe confirming, persuading, right? Yes, I think, yes, if you are looking for, there's a question here, if you're looking for the longer one, you'd better go to the website of the Harvard Business School, right? Otherwise, as I said, in some business courses, you will find at the end of a unit some case studies, right? I use myself the Harvard case studies for university level, but for companies, I usually use this case study that you find in books, in business books mostly. So at the end of a unit, there's one, depending on the subject. It can be procurement, logistic, marketing, whatever. For example, devising a marketing strategy, and you have always an issue, yeah? Something goes wrong, okay? So that's one idea. But then again, you have to listen to the people. In a business context, of course, at the company, they might say, oh, we have a project and we have issue here with that, and then they can implement it and they're happy to yeah? Yes, Ron, thank you for that. Okay. All right, so far so good. We talked about the importance of communication and how the business world is changing. We talked about case studies, right? And now I'd like to move to the project-based assignment. Some people mentioned that, yeah? Okay, I'd like you to reflect for a while and give me some ideas of any project in a business context. It can be at the university, as I said, or at a client. How could a project-based assignment look like? Do you have any ideas? A new website, brilliant, Angelina, thank you. Yeah, very good. If they are in the tech industry, IT, they're into coding, it can be a presentation, very good. Yeah, a project, it's a project, yeah. We have a presentation so people can work on that, present little bits. They do this collage, processing a huge amount of data, very good. And that's a project. Brochure, yes, very good. Yeah, that's a brilliant one, yeah. Developing a flyer, yeah, why not? Okay. Organize a catering, particular selling point and competitive. Very, very good. That's a brilliant idea. Thank you. Yes, if you are in the gastronomy or hospitality business, okay, how to find a company? How do you sell your, talking about your unique selling point? Yes, product launch, brilliant. And these are the things, this is real life, people, real life. Prepare a commercial offer. Yes, very good. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Infographics of different kinds. Yes, very good. Draw budget and role play start. Yeah, very good. Investors. Yeah, absolutely. You can simulate that. Yeah, this is a project. We'll work on that. Yeah, you have this, and it can be a rally, right, or competition. Yeah, based on their needs, and there's a lot of fun in that. Yeah. Instead of, sorry to say that, having one book, gap filling, matching exercises. Okay, what have I learned today? How can I implement that in my daily life? Okay, what's the purpose? Yes, very good. Of course, you need the language for that. Startup business, but yeah, that's good. Yes, Ron. Yeah, I have a dream. I have a plan. I want to be self-independent. I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, maybe they can think about their own ideas. Yeah, and many companies, by the way, they have this startup within the company. You can pitch for a project. If they like it, they give you the money and the resources, and you can work on that, right? You pitch in front of a panel, right? Very good. So we have a lot of ideas here, okay? Okay, guys. So I'm going to show you two ideas of a project, right? The first one I call corporate adventure, okay? So the students, this is at the university level, of course, but of course you can adapt it to any business context in a company based on real project. So the students create a company, selling a service, offering a service, sorry, selling a product, and I divided it in 4 major chapters. First one is called company profile. Then we have market profile, then elective subject, and something I call recruitment day. So how does it work? First of all, they have to get together. The groups are created randomly, like in the business world. You work with people you've never worked before with. They decide on the legal structure of a company, if that's a PLC, if that's an LTD, a family business, whatever, what kind of product. They create a mission and vision, and they are given enough material online on a language management system like Moodle or Edmodo or whatever, and they go to that and they get some inspiration. So they write as well. They give me weekly reports on their progress. Then the market profile. They talk about the SWOT analysis, their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. They do a questionnaire. They create a graph. The third one, I give them the freedom to choose anything they like. If they say, okay, we like marketing, then they can create a marketing strategy. If they're HR, they create a training manual for the employees. If they're in finance, they can create cash flow. They talk about income statement, balance sheet, whatever, right? Then the fourth one is called recruitment day. This is working on their CV. I'll write my CV if I've never written one before. If I have one, I polish, refresh it. And every team will create a job ad. These job ads are put online, and then you apply for 2 jobs, okay? And on that day, we simulate in real life, of course. This time we did it online. In real life, every company will have their badges, their names, right? And they move around and they submit their application letters. And then you scrutinize all these applications. People are shortlisted, you call them, you schedule a job interview, and there's a lot of movement here. They interview people, they're being interviewed, and then they hire someone, right? Along the way, they create a flyer and a commercial video, of course. So they work on the digital literacy there. You tell me you're digital native, so surprise me, outsmart me. And then the final presentation. So you have collaboration here, you have critical thinking, creativity, and then communication. So I'm going to show you very quickly a project where students, what students did a couple of weeks ago. It's called Invino Veritas. So they created their own company. And it is really, really very creative. So you see, there's marketing, there's SWOT analysis, there's finance, there's everything related to the business world, okay? Organigram, new employee, mission, 4 Ps of marketing. Organization, the new employee, mission, the 4 Ps of marketing. This is just to give you an idea. They create even a wine narrator, right? So to know what kind of wine, if you are a wine connoisseur, if you want, right? The USP, questionnaire, very creative. So you see, they create also the language as well. But the purpose is more the business context, potential customers, marketing strategy, competitors, SWOT analysis, the survey. That's what they would do in the real life. That's their brochure. Looks very good. All right. And that's it. This is the job ad they created. Why join us? This is the contact person for the job application. And they create also a job interview questionnaire. They don't have to go through this religiously, of course, but the idea is to practice. Yeah, what kind of question? What are the tricky questions that that the interviewer might ask? Okay. Right. The second project is about marketing across culture. Remember what we said at the beginning? You need the communication skills, you need the digital literacy, and above all, you need the intercultural skills. Learning a language without understanding its culture is making a fool of yourself, right? So maybe learning RP or BBC English, if you learn American English, it's a completely different culture. Canadians are different, and Australians are a different breed. So here the idea is to market a product in a completely different culture. Let's say a German product that is very successful in Russia, bearing in mind the cultural differences and how to overcome them. And along the way, they take care of these characteristics, social cultural environment, consumer behaviors, anything they've learned in marketing, for example. Maybe you have a course with marketing, so you could do something like that, yeah? Brochure and video, commercial, etc. Okay, so the idea, as I said, is to practice their digital skills, marketing skills, that should be the presentation skills and intercultural skills. I'll show an example very quickly here so that I don't go over time. So similar to the other one, but this one is more with the cultural dimension, right? They try to advertise, I think, a product from New Zealand in Germany. And yeah, this is the cultural thing. They used Hofstadter here. They talked about whole entrepreneurs, how to create a tailor-made campaign. Why Germany? Okay, Russia marketing, SWOT. And they create a video. I'd like to show you this short video.
Face each day with intensely moisturized skin from our unique blend of natural oils and manuka honey for soft and smooth, radiant skin and a distinct fragrance that expresses your beauty. Satisfaction guaranteed. Based on safe, gentle formulas for all your skin needs. It's so good, it repairs almost everything. Well, almost everything. From honeybees to happy skin to happy life. Happy Care, because we care for your health.
All right. Then they talk about finance, and you will learn yourself along the way. Vision, mission. It's like a pitch. Why should you invest in my idea? All right. So just to wrap up very quickly, because I got some minutes left. Yeah, the learning methodology, of course, you have to focus on the competency, thinking, based learning, critical thinking, problem solving, maybe gamification. Some people are into these gaming if you want, cooperative, project-based, and why not flipped classroom? Okay, I asked you the tools you use. Some of you said PowerPoint, Zoom, PDF files. There are many, many tools, of course, out there. All these are free tools. Some of you are familiar with them. Of course, you can be, as I said, the best carpenter. If you don't have the necessary tools, you can do a good job, right? How to use these tools wisely. And again, remember, technology does not substitute pedagogy. You need to have a plan. These are just tools. And I'd like to finish by a quote by Benjamin Franklin. He said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." Thank you very much, guys. I hope this was quite rewarding and insightful for you. Thank you very much. Done.
Thank you very much. It was really a wonderful talk, a wonderful presentation, and amazing projects. I loved the projects. Okay, so we have some time for questions, and I already spotted 2 questions in the chat box. Let me ask you. So how do you deal with projects for lower levels, like, for example, elementary students?
Yeah, as I said, I forgot to mention something when I talked about communication. One of my friends did a project recently called digital storytelling. Yeah, so they have the tools. They can create a story. My next holiday, for example, all the places I've been to, right? What have I learned about those cultures? I went with my parents to the US, I went to Europe or whatever. It can be something like that. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. It must be tailor-made to the needs of the people. So that's a project. I'm telling a story, okay? Right? And they use the digital tools and they tell the story and they talk and they create something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Another question is, can you relate to the amount of time you expect to spend on a project? So how much time?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think at the university level, you are the master of the scene. You design the syllabus. You design the project. So you can say, okay, I can work on a project for a whole semester, and I give the students half of the teaching hours as a self-study to meet outside classroom, and then we'll have input work on other stuff, right? But in a company, of course, you have to play by their rules, right? You have to listen to the people. You know, most of the people in the business are booked out. We live in a fast-paced world, so you have to adjust there, right? And you have to check the amount of time available to you.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in and ask a question, Elena.
Okay.
Yes, somebody just asked about, how much time you spend on the project itself. But do you know when you have a group maybe at the university, because both of us teach at a university and basically teach the same thing, and you said you can drag this project on for the whole semester, which is usually what I do. But how do you break it down? Do you put them in teams?
Yeah.
Do you let them choose their own teams? How autonomous are they in that process of PBL and business English? Because we're covering so many different skills. But my question is really, how do you break it? How do you break them down? How much choice do they have as to the product itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually. I create the teams randomly, right? In a real life situation. This time, because it was online, we could not do it. So I gave them the freedom of choice, okay? For whatever reason. Because in the business world, sometimes you work on a project based on a matrix structure. So you have to deal with people from finance, marketing, engineering, whatever. These are people you've never seen before, and you cannot choose them, right? Second, anything else, they are free. I just give them the guidelines. I want an organigram. I want you to develop a product or a service, whatever. They are free in choosing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't interfere there.
Elena, did you have another question?
Yeah, I have plenty. So there is one question which I think that a lot of business English teachers, especially beginning business English teachers, ask. The question is, so some people believe that business English should start at B1 level and above. So what do you think about that? Do you agree?
Actually, yes. I think, that's the thing. I have colleagues who teach, for example, business Spanish, where people start from the alphabet, right? My name is, and stuff like that. For business English, of course, you're not teaching people grammar or the language. You suppose that they speak. They have a bit of English. Or was my professor back then would say, you can squeeze a bit of English. They have a basic knowledge. And what you teach them is not the grammar. I mean, the grammar is there. That's the network of the backbone of the language. You teach them English for specific purpose. It's for business. It's not for doctors. It's not for engineers, right? So I think, B1, probably, So, but at least what we require in Germany is 6-7 years of high school English. So that should be around about B1, B2. Yeah.
Some basic, at least. They should know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And what about having mixed groups of students in one?
I think it's good because we have incoming students as well from all over the world. So I have a course called Intercultural Competencies, and this time we did it online. It was brilliant. We have Americans working with South Koreans. We have Australians working with French, Germans working with Chinese. That's fantastic. So, because they have to speak English. If you put only German, they tend to speak only German. It's like when you put only Russian, their tendency is to speak Russian, right? That's obvious. But if you put 2 or 3 people from different cultures, they are forced to speak English.
Mm-hmm. I also think that the question was about like multi-level groups, like if there are students B1 and B2 together.
Yeah, of course, you will always have a heterogeneous group, right? There's no escape. I think my experience, at least in companies I worked for, they already do a kind of proficiency test or placement test to see that it fits somehow. So, I mean, if it's a guy is C1 and the other one B1, that's problematic. I think B1, B2 could be okay, right? Because they would support each other. It's a bit of challenge. You have to do a bit more, but that's the collaboration thing, yeah? But you cannot put a B1 with C1 and expect the same results. Does not work. How would you assess that later on, yeah?
So it's still good to have like more or less similar level students.
That's makes sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, there is one more question. Well, actually, there are some more. So how do you cope with teaching professional slang? If you, for example, you don't have expertise in a particular field, how do you go about that?
You have to inform yourself. We live in a digital world. The internet is very handy. It's a big source. And you learn, as I said, from the people. They give you a lot of input, yeah? You learn by listening, active listening, right? So, as I said, the other day I was talking to a guy developing an app for smart farming, agriculture 4.0. Never heard about that. Talking about driverless forklift in a warehouse. Okay, brilliant. So you listen, you read, keep your eyes and ears open. And if you say, okay, doing this needs analysis, these people, okay, they're in marketing. So you have to inform yourself a bit. General knowledge, that's it. You cannot be a marketeer overnight, yeah? I cannot be a number cruncher overnight. I've never had statistics or mathematics, but at least I know what cash flow, income statement, balance sheet, activa, passiva, that's it. This is general knowledge. Knowing a bit about a lot and not knowing a lot about a bit, because that's their job.
Natalia, did you want to say something? That was Natalia's question.
Yeah, it was my question, because, you know, it's interesting because on the I teach lower levels. And what you are talking about is just teaching people who already speak like fluently. But if you have elementary level students and you don't have expertise, it's really difficult to feed them with vocabulary. And like picking a couple of words is not probably enough for a teacher, because you have to be professional. And I don't know, I faced students from different spheres, from oil industry, from hotel and hospitality, from general marketing and finance. And so they're absolutely different spheres with plenty of slang. And you don't just feed them with general case studies or startup businesses. I think it's like a bit different level of expertise. And it's rather difficult. So my question is, and on lower level students are not ready to produce anything. They are just capable of, you have to feed them with this information first. And busy people are not eagerly in Russia. For example, what I face, they are not ready to surf the internet for hours. They have to be fed, and they just like sit and wait until you teach them something. So a lot of production, a lot of work from on the teacher's level. And that's why it's interesting how you cope with this particular slang. And digging for articles and information on different marketing, farming, oil industry, it's plenty of work usually for a teacher.
Yeah.
Can I jump in there and say something?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Go ahead.
Because, you know, I deal with this all the time. And that is that, you know, you are going to have different levels, you know, dealing with business English. And there are people who do think that you can start teaching business English at A1 and A2 level. But, you know, this is the big difference between general English and business English. And I think that everybody would agree that, you know, how can I teach you something in a second language that you don't own in your first language? And you do have to have some, you know, sense of grammar and language and vocabulary, you know, all these structures to build, to start learning those things. And yes, you know, back to what you said, you know, that, you know, we had to do a lot of teaching, but that's the difference between business English and I think general English, is that teaching is still there. But there's still a lot of training and skills development, communication skills, intercultural awareness, all those other things that come. And we do need to have a certain level of English to be able to function in that world. But, you know, after a while, grammar is not really important. Vocabulary is still important. But, you know, I deal with successful people whose grammar is terrible, but they're successful business people. And so, you know, English lingua franca, which I think Ekaterina, you know, kept a lot, you know, she said, she called it globish. But, you know, we're talking about English lingua franca here. And that's also a misconception that a lot of general English teachers might have, is that, you know, we need to teach correct English. They need to sound like native speakers. The grammar has to be right. Well, that's not business English. Because those are not the priorities of business English. It's more skills development, awareness, building the correct vocabulary and those other skills that we need for business. I think that's how, you know, I would look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there is also a difference again between cultures. Like now we are we will learn, well, you will learn a lot about teaching business English in Russia. So in Russia, things might be a little bit different, but yeah, Ron, I agree with you absolutely.
Totally. Well, I think, I agree with you, Elena, and you know that have also had a sharp learning curve, also doing business in Russia.
We'll be learning ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, we're always learning,
Yeah.
and it's just very interesting. But there's cultural aspects, and it's a really important part of business English. But I want to direct one last question before we move on here. I wanted to ask, do you think that it's important that business English teachers know all of these things about business, or can we just really make the crossover from general English to business English? Is that possible to do that for some teachers? Because, business English, we want to make people aware of that and how that works in, in Russia. But does a Russian teacher need to have a business degree to start teaching business English?
Is it possible to teach skills you have never experienced in your own life? If you have never negotiated, how can you teach these skills? If we talk about skills, not vocabulary, if you have never participated in negotiations, if you have never started your own company, how can you teach all these things? It's just simple vocabulary, that's all. So I believe that a business English teacher must have some awareness of business processes, at least simple, but better if they are deep, because you can communicate on the same level with your students and teach them vocabulary, and they will benefit more from this communication.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with you. If I do a project where people create their own companies, I don't have to be an entrepreneur. I don't have to be a businessman. I don't think this is the idea. And then again, always remember, what do these people want? This is the needs analysis. If they say, no, I just want to do a presentation, so be it. I want to make just phone call, that's okay. I want just to talk, that's fine. Teach me how to write emails, fair enough. I remember I met a couple of people in the business world telling me, I prefer to have a good business with poor English than excellent English but no business. So I think the idea is, what are my goals, right? That's it. And what I'm saying is, if you find yourself in a situation where people challenge you, right? How can you teach a guy, I'm talking about a different context, of course, about marketing. If you've never read anything about marketing, you don't have to be a marketeer, but at least you know there are 4 P's, there's a product, there's a price, there's a promotion. That's just scratching the surface, that's what I'm saying. Or you go to a guy telling you about, I don't know, supply chain management, or, oh, we have an income statement and a balance sheet, oh, we have this monthly report. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one more. Well, we're actually running out of time here. So I have one more very nice question from the chat box about motivation. How to maintain the motivation of top managers to study English?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. I think Ekaterina mentioned that in her talk. I think there are people, they want to learn business English because there are some reasons. There's a kind of Parkinson law. There's a pressure. There's an urgency. I need to do something because there's a lot of things going on in my company and I need to do something. They are aware of it and they are motivated, of course. Other people have to be there because the boss tells them it's highly recommended and they're not motivated. I think, first of all, you have to be motivated yourself. If you want the best of others, you need to give the best of yourself by creating different skills, different scenarios, making it fun as well for the people, challenging, interesting, by creating that learning environment. Yeah, that's your part. And then again, the people have to do their job by having a kind of intrinsic motivation, at least. There's something why I'm here, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you can take a horse to the well, you can't force it to drink.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
If you look in the chat box, I posted something, an internet site called Business Balls. And that's going to help you because, you're bringing up the topic, what if you don't know about something? But, we can quickly inform ourselves. And this is that one internet site that I recommend to all business English teachers. Educate yourself. You can do it very quickly. There's great overviews of so many different business processes. on Business Balls, the internet site. It is one of the most successful sites, one of the best sites to educate yourself about many different things that will come up in a business English class. So spend the time. It's free. You can get so much information, great diagrams, great PDFs to download that you can actually use in the classroom, in your business English classroom. So, you know, use that. I also put a link to the Institute for Management Development out of Switzerland, which has some of the best case studies that you can actually be using, but don't forget to go to Harvard. I would also like to just move on here. Let's move on, Elena. Let's take advantage really quick of the, you know, we have Randy here online.
I'm sorry, Ron, I'm sorry. Let us finish with this part and then I'll give you the conclusions, okay? Mm-hmm. So just one quick question, because I think it's really important. Can you advise any online resources for business English teachers? Ron has recommended a lot. So is there anything else that you can recommend?
Very spontaneously, there's one called Breaking News, I think, yeah, which is good. This is very spontaneously, where you can also decide on the level, yeah, intermediate, pre-intermediate, advanced, and there are different activities you can do, right? And they are ready-made, either listening, drag and drop, gap filling, and that's interesting. And they are based on current issues, like I don't know, coronavirus in New York or whatever, right? These are real life situations. So they read, they can practice their listening skills and so on. I think it's called Breaking News, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there used to be one like that. Okay, let us actually, so we will just send, can you send please maybe the name in the chat box? And in the meantime, we have to ask the number from 1 to 40 for our next winner of the prize from TrendyEnglish. So could you give a number from 1 to 40? Please. Riha, can you give a number to us from 1 to 40, please?
1 to 40, that's 12.
12. Julia?
Okay.
Yeah, great. So I need some seconds to count.
Yeah, and while we are on it, so let us give our applause to our wonderful, very interesting speaker with a lot of useful information. So applause. Can you switch on your cameras and let's applaud together? It was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I guess while Julia is counting, yeah, so Ron, can you?
Yeah, okay, well, Randy, could you get your camera on? Randy, are you there? You get your voice on, Randy?
The voice is on now and the camera's on now.
Oh, great. So really quick before Julia's going to give us the winners of today's prizes, wanted to introduce Randy. Randy is from Tel Aviv, and she's going to talk about really quick her upcoming talk in the next series of BSIC Russia Talks. So Randy, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Ekaterina and Rita for their wonderful presentations. I always learn something new every time I listen to anyone, and the last 2 hours was just rich with new things. So thank you so much. I'm going to be talking about dealing basically with the unknown, the ambiguity, and the challenge that we have all had in the last few months, and how to make it relevant, how to make the content of our courses more relevant to our own students. So in other words, here we are with, well, let me introduce myself a little bit. I teach in a university context. I teach business English students who are at B2, C1 level. And this semester, I felt that we couldn't just go on with our regular syllabus and continue teaching the types of articles and materials that we have used up until now without at least giving some credence to the situation that exists. And I think I've developed a model that will hopefully work for you in your own context of how to infuse our own courses with things that are relevant, with things that are timely. And I think, you know, if I refer for a second to Hofstede's a discussion about ambiguity and uncertainty, whether or not culturally we love ambiguity or we hate it, we have all been living it. And I think that dealing with that new, I hate the term new normal, but let's call it new normal for now, is a very, very timely thing that we have to do. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in August, and I hope to see you all there. And again, Ron, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And thank all the speakers today. Thank everybody for coming today. Please stay in touch with us. You can always find more information on the BSIC Russia group, which is a Facebook group that you can join. We'd like for you to join because this is how we keep in contact with one another. And I also want to thank everybody at Trendy English, Julia, Evgeny, Elena, and for making this possible for us today. Thank you all speakers again, and look forward to the next one. So Julia, I'm going to turn that back over to you.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm really happy to say that today we have two winners. So one is one already knows about her winner. It's Anna in Russian letters. Sorry, but no surname. And the second winner is Irina in English. So Irina written in English letters. So Irina, are you here? So, and maybe Anna, our winners, can you switch on your cameras and tell something, or just for us to see you at least? So, okay, and our prize today are all the webinars of Trendy English on this spring. It was a tough spring, but very interesting. Unfortunately, Irina doesn't answer. So we hope
there is Irina. I can see you. She's waving.
Irina in. So Anna is here. Yeah, Anna is writing to me in the chat, but personally, Anna, can you write to everybody? So, but Irina doesn't answer, unfortunately.
No, I've just seen her, Julia. She was waving. She switched on.
Yeah, really. Maybe I can't.
Irina, maybe you can write in the chat box.
Sorry.
Irina, can you switch on your camera? Yes, there she is. Once again.
Yeah, Irina, it's just. So
yeah,
here you are.
There she is.
So,
okay.
Our congratulations. So, Irina, please write your email to me in the chat. So right now, and I'll send you our prize. So, and I really hope to see everybody tomorrow in our Trendy English Game Forum. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. So, and I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. We are really happy to be here today, our first BSIC meeting, and the next one will be, Ron, if I'm not mistaken, it will be the 4th of August, yeah?
That is, let me
2nd of August, no? Let us double check, actually. It will be in August.
Yeah, it's in August. We actually,
August, yeah.
We have two in August. We have, it's going to be the Sunday, the 2nd of August. Yeah, that's our next talk with Randy. And then we have our final conference, which is going to be 1 day long conference where we're going to have 8 to 9 speakers. Those will be announced on the BSIC Russia group as well as on the Trendy English landing page. And we will also send that out on social media for the 1 day long conference, which is Sunday, August the 30th.
Yeah. Okay, so see you in our Trendy English conferences, in BSIC meetings. So thank you and goodbye. Irina, I've taken your email address. Thank you. And our congratulations again.
So thank you all for coming and see you all in August. Yeah, stay tuned. Check the updates on the webpage in Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.